In this video, let's go ahead and take a look at the untrimmed surface feature. Now, at a first glance, when you see this feature, you might think that you need to have a surface that's been trimmed in order to reverse that trim. Well, that's not true. This untrimmed surface tool is very powerful and can make quick work of filling in some geometry that might be missing, that may have been removed, or you might simply want to extend some of your geometry. So let's select untrimmed surface and take a look at some of the things we can do with this example. The first thing I want to do is note the few options we have here. We have selection box, in which case we want to select edges that are going to define our untrimmed surface. We have a distance box, and this percentage is the overall percentage extended beyond the original. And we'll get into that in a little bit. And then in the options box, we have a merge with original. Once we start making selections, we'll see a few more options pop up. So let's start with a simple example. Let's go ahead and fill in this corner down here. Now the selection process can be fairly easy. If we select this one single edge, you notice that it automatically goes all the way to the end of our surface. Now we can also select these other edges, but we don't necessarily need to. Now you'll notice that once we make an edge selection, we now have an option for extend edges or connect endpoints. If we select connect endpoints and we have two different edges here, you'll notice that what it's doing, instead of extending the geometry out, the extend edge option, the connected endpoints option goes the shortest distance between them. Now there are some cases when you might want to connect an edge like that, but in most cases you'll probably be using the extend edges option. Now we have the merge with original option. Now if we leave this deselected, SOLIDWORKS is actually going to make a copy of the original surface with the new untrimmed surface attached to it. Hit OK and take a look at that. So at a first glance, it might look like it just created this small rectangular patch. But if we just go ahead and hide the original, you'll notice that we have a copy of the original with that untrimmed surface there. If we go back to the untrimmed surface and select merge with original and hit OK, we now have the original body with that untrimmed surface attached to it. And you'll note that you'll never be able to tell that there is actually a surface added to this part. There's no edge selection when we have the surface body selected. It looks like everything was original. So this is a great tool in order to recreate the geometry. So let's take a look at a few more of these edges. We'll use our untrimmed surface option and try to fill in this irregular area here. I'm going to make a single selection, and you'll note that it automatically fills in the rest of the profile. Now we can go ahead and manually select the rest of the profile, but in this case we don't need to. I'm going to select merge with original and hit OK. So as you can see, again, it recreated the geometry that would have originally been there, and it seamlessly patched that. So let's take a look at this edge on the opposite side. We're going to use untrimmed surface. I'm going to select this one edge, and this time I'm going to actually alter the percentage distance. If we say 50%, it's going to extend this out half of the distance that it's already patching. For instance, if we say 100%, it's going to completely double that distance. Now there are certain instances where this might be very helpful. For instance, if you wanted to go 15% past the original, we could hit OK, and then we could come back and untrim this and extend the entire border out. Or we could say 0% and simply extend out to this other edge. So this is a good way to extend geometry even if you have an irregular border. Now you might be thinking, well, this works great on these edges where they were basically just trimmed out from. But what if we want to patch this center circle? So we can do that as well. We can untrim the center, we can merge with original, we can hit OK. And as you can see, it matches the geometry perfectly. There's no edge selection where you've patched that geometry. Now let's take a look at what I mean by edge selection. If we were to use the filled surface option and maintain an equal curvature relation with the edges, we would essentially get the same thing. But the difference here is, if we knit these surfaces together, our curvature is going to match, but we're always going to have this separate edge here. Even though it's one surface, you're going to have that edge selection. So instead of using the surface fill, in this case, if we use the untrimmed surface, we get the same type of patch merged with the original without noticing that there was any extra geometry here. Now this makes a big difference when you have to start offsetting surfaces or using a surface as an extend entity from an extrude or to cut another part. Whenever you have to make multiple edge selections or right click and select tangency, it could increase the modeling time it takes and possibly decrease the surface quality on the end result. So this is a great option to fill, recreate, or otherwise create new geometry surrounding any surface that you have.